Welcome to Beyond Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Petros, and we are super excited for today's guest. Sometimes we step outside that box a little bit of what we cover in the sports world to kind of, shine light on other things that we think are great. And this is something that who we're gonna talk to today and what they're about is it popped up on my Instagram, and it was something that I started really paying a lot of attention to. LifeCanvas. If you don't follow them on Instagram, you guys gotta follow them. But to me, very somewhat parallel message with Beyond as far as kind of going beyond who somebody is and the story behind them and so on and so forth. And I have a quote that they have on their website that I thought was unbelievable, and I want to share it here in the introduction. We marry the power of cinematography, videography, and photography with social media to create visual stories. That was something that really just popped to me about what this mission's about and what these people are about. And we are super lucky here to have on a great person today. Give a little introduction here as a co-founder and director of strategy and growth at Life Canvas. As I mentioned, has again, this is from colleagues, people that work with him, strategic leadership ability to make lasting connections and helping people share their authentic stories. You are an avid golfer, a lifelong learner, and believe it or not, guys, a diehard Yankees, Lakers, and 49ers fan. We won't hold that against him. We won't hold that against him. But without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Kenya Rutland. Welcome to Beyond Podcast.
Hey Anthony, thanks for having me, man. And I was scared that that fact would get out. I didn't know if we would let it come out later, if it would be original. But I got to tell you quickly, I grew up in Georgia. For those that might know, as a kid born in the 70s, rooting in the 80s, the Falcons were horrible. They played in the NFC West, hence the 49ers, because you had to root for another team. I'm a
Yeah.
diehard Darryl Strawberry fan.
Okay.
And Straw being my favorite player when he migrated from the Mets to the Dodgers, the Giants, and then to the Yankees. It was kind of one of those things. My guy went there, and I will say, I'm not lifelong Yankees fan, but when Jeter arrived, it was kind of hard not to root for them. So,
Yeah.
and I spent most of my life in Connecticut, so I will maybe they'll give me a little break on that.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, I'm a huge Jeter guy. I mean, I think in the heat of the rivalry with the Red Sox and the Yankees, and even before that, when they won like in the mid to late '90s, they won a bunch of their World Series. Yeah, Jeter was just like he was never in trouble like outside of sports. You never heard anything bad about him. The guy was all in on the field. He maybe didn't have the best batting average or whatever, but he just always seemed to make a play when you needed to make a play, whether it was defensively, offensively, stealing a base, knocking in a run. He just was kind of Mr. October, and you have to respect him. I mean, we had Nomar. People love Nomar. Wasn't a huge fan of Nomar. I think their rivalry, Jeter just, made me just look at Nomar so differently. But Jeter's a guy that I totally respect no matter where he played or who he played for. So I will
Hey,
show love to the Yankees there.
well, we're starting off on a good note. I love you even more, brother. The last thing I'll say on that is he's Mr. November, in case y'all don't know that in Boston lore. And then I would highlight that Nomar, ironically, went to Georgia Tech. I went to the University of Georgia, and he and Veritek and a few other folks, and Mark Teixeira, and people don't know, they were all on a beast of a baseball team. So,
Oh wow. I did
yeah,
not
yeah,
know that.
yeah. Nomar is one of those guys that that shortstop realm in
Yeah.
general. I won't pan here, but I have that infamous picture of Nomar, A-Rod, Nomar in the Red Sox uniform from A-Rod in Seattle, Jeter in New York, right here on my wall. Actually, and that was a
Oh,
no
very
if
cool.
I remembers. But that's also scoped with Mo, Bernie, Andy, Jeter, and Posada as well. So just
Okay.
like there. So, and I do have a Kobe jersey behind me too, in case anybody's wondering. But I'll
Yeah,
stop.
love Kobe. Love Kobe. I mean, my appreciation for Kobe, I feel like grew even more when I got Instagram and to see, to hear the stories and him talking. God, like
Yeah, man.
that talk about a person who just, man, like
Yeah.
you want that as a teammate, like no matter what, you
Gone way
know?
too soon, gone way too soon, and transition really from what we all knew as the ball hog. That was, but the dog on the court. Like, let's
Right.
go, let's do it. To a dad that actually influenced so many people, and many people don't know about Mamba Academy and just some of the work that they do. And I follow it loosely, just like really, really, really appreciating the guy. And then you have incidents like time and unforeseen occurrences befall us all, as my mom, who's a spiritual woman, would say sometimes. And it just reminds us, you're at 5 years just last month, which is crazy how fast time flies. But
Yes.
forever a guy, forever Mamba, man. So forever
Yeah.
Mamba. I
Yeah.
really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, well, we're lucky to have you, and I kind of mentioned it kind of at the top when I was doing the introduction a little bit. For again, for people that were listening, I came across you guys on Instagram probably like a month ago or so, and I just started scrolling and reading some of the things that you have posted to really kind of better understand. And I saw like a reel. And what I love is when we talk about that, the real you is that REEL. I think you said for the REAL, which I think you guys like have a lot of great like t-shirt worthy quotes too, by the way. But I think they're all
They're
very, very
coming, brother.
well.
They're coming. They're coming.
But what I found so interesting is what we do here on Beyond a little bit is that's kind of our purpose, right? We're looking to kind of look beyond the program and what goes into preparation and mental preparation and getting motivated by coaches and watching adjustments. But then after the game, seeing who those kids are, who those coaches are, and having them on the podcast and getting this whole different light, you guys are now taking that and somewhat kind of putting it on steroids. You are really like just reading some of the packages and things that you guys offer and things that you do. It is like, man, you are really enthralled in trying to get to know somebody and show off. So I guess I'm first going to ask you, tell people a little bit about Life Canvas, what I'm talking about here, because you could obviously do it 10 times better than me.
Hey, Anthony, thank you so much. And we're talking sports, so I got to say, you mentioned that S word. I was gonna say, well, that's Nomar. That's our clarity. That's A-Rod. That's a that's a different conversation. So we're not talking about those steroids. Let's leave that
Yeah,
alone.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so listen, Live Canvas is really, I would say, I'll rewind 2 years and just say, I was in this space of like, man, I run my other firm, KJR Consulting, which is a organizational health firm. I love the work that we do there, but I've run it for 25 years. And I'm like in that space of like, like, is there a next or what else? And I realized because I love what I do, it's not about next. I wanted to add on. And so I had a passion to really kind of think about how can we help people win, kind of create a level playing field, but just realize that for some people, if you're a rock star athlete, it's going to be given that you're going somewhere. And there's a few people that we can think about from the state of Massachusetts right now. There are Nike ads and things like that, being number one ranked in their sport. They're going places. But some other kids might be in scenarios where you don't see me because I'm not at the school. Flip that. I could be a professional who know me about my business, but you've never actually like clarity, my product, but you've never actually gotten a chance to know the person behind it. It might, if you knew my story, you might support me even more. And then the last thing I'd say, students in general, they have their unique experiences. I don't know how they navigate the hallways of school today, man. If you put me back in a building, I'd be like, dude, I'd be struggling compared to my high school experience. But what we realized was, wouldn't it be cool if we had the ability to take the story that people don't know and put it to video and be able to have it be that could precede you or follow an interview or something that you might have or have. And now we can actually kind of learn more about Anthony P and know more about the story beyond, hey, he's beyond, we see him on the podcast, but you know more about what he brings day to day to the family, etc. So our work is really, as you said, showcasing the REELU, and we use the power of the camera to showcase the real REALU. So, big picture, we are working with applicants, people who are looking for jobs, who might want to supplement an application process. Maybe I'm horrible at interviews, and I'm going to go and tank it, but I want to be able to say, hey, remember me? In some cases, some orgs might even ask you for an interview in advance. What if we can polish you up and make sure you look good? Flip that, you might be an athlete, somebody who's like, we work with some professionals who would say, I just want to get in touch with my fans and let them know that I'm a real dude here. So there's that dynamic. There's also, like you've said, a student athlete who might be in a scenario where they're applying to maybe a gap year to a prep school or maybe even college, and they want to show that not only do I have the skills that maybe I'm a quarterback, I'm a point guard, I'm a golfer, or maybe I'm a boxer, but I'm also a guy who loves to cook, loves to care for the family. Maybe I work in a senior center. We have a young person that I recently interviewed who actually serves food to seniors every weekend. That's what he does Saturday and Sunday. And like clockwork, says to his friends, I'm not going out. I got to get there for the people that he loves. But things like that. And to me, that's a kid you're getting that's not just the athlete. They're showing you a well polished, they understand the greater good impact. And then the last bucket that I would highlight are the professionals that we work with. Somebody, as I noted again, they have a business, they have a product, they have a service, but maybe they're wanting to make sure that you know that they too have the same experience that you have. So I think about someone who might be an attorney, somebody who might be a child advocate or something. They are wanting you to realize that I got into the field because my family also has this challenge. So we've had people who've been able to show this. And as a parent, I'm looking for a service provider. Boy, if I could see this service provider in action, might I get a better sense of how they connect with whatever it is versus the cold call. Somebody said this person's good, let me call, and then you realize they don't understand my scenario.
Yeah.
So we really wanted to just bring to life the opportunity for you and for anyone to be able to say, hey, wow, this is really good. Now I can see this person in a different light. And that is the REELU that we talk about.
I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing. And what I love about that is like I said this I just spoke to a couple classes at Endicott last Friday, and the
Mm,
one thing I mentioned to them is exactly that, being like, if a kid's getting recruited to a program, he's probably one of like four or five, six kids maybe in that position that are getting recruited to that program. And having them on a podcast and asking them what their hobbies are, what do they do outside of their sport, or what's family life like, that is something they can submit to a coach and saying, yeah, this is who I am as a person too, and this is what you're getting from my program. So when I heard you kind of say all that, I'm like, man, that's like exactly like what we kind of sort of do here in a sense, but you are, like I said, taking it to a new level. Now, let me ask you, because I knew with Beyond, I felt like in my coaching world, in my coaching hat, I understood that coverage like this needed to be out there, could be out there, and there was a potential market for it. For you guys, how did you come together as a group? I know there's a few other people as well, but what maybe put this idea on the map? I know you mentioned that you wanted more and so on, but then you kind of connected with people. So talk about like putting the pieces of the puzzle together. How'd you guys come together?
yeah, that's an awesome call. So here's the beauty of it, right? And it's that emotional moment. We're talking about like showcasing stories. So I have a son who actually was the kid in the of the four kids who's like, yeah, dude, I'm a physical kid, like the box. He's a personal trainer. A little bit more into the don't want to get into the cerebral stuff. I like my routine. But he's a dancer. He loves videography. He got into cinematography, filming dance, and he had this passion, but he was working in a 9 to 5 that was kind of a little bit more of a rote gig. I'm a dad over here, passionate entrepreneur. Like I want to work with my boy, man. I want to give him something. And
Yeah.
none of my kids want any part of it. So I started talking. I was like, man, I'm on sabbatical. I took a little time away from my other firm, and I said, I want to try something. So I spent the early part of 2024, January to March, kind of playing around with this idea, baking it. I came back and said to one of my, I would say one of my partners, who actually happened to have been somebody that I work with, I was like, I got this idea. What I need, because I'm biz dev, strategy, growth guy, and I have another firm I'm running. I need somebody who can be the guts of ops, who can take this thing and make sure the contracts and the ops, the website, and all that can run. And I had my number one person who had just been my right hand for the last 6 years. They were like, I'm in.
Yeah.
When? And then I was like, okay, but here's a leap of faith. Talked to my wife, talked to a few family members, and I was like, I'm gonna bring my boy in, right? I got to bring my kid and my son, my firstborn son, and we approach him, and he's a little young in business because it's not his skill set, and
Yeah.
he's like, bet let's do this,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
cool part was, being able to sit down with your kid, man, and actually start talking. You realize they don't know what they don't know, but
Right.
seeing my progeny, like starting to grow a business. He's a part owner. He's in this thing with me, and we're seeing his passion light up. And so what we did was really got the three of us together. We realized we could divide and literally divide and conquer the pie into the pieces we needed to, with the functional areas to align with that. And now we have a videographer and him,
Yeah.
with a team of videographers, and then we have an ops structural person who kind of oversees our operational efficiency. And then they gave me the title of, hey, you go be the biz dev guy, kind of get us some where are we going, which we collectively work on and help us
Yeah.
find the new opportunities like today working with you to grow our firm. So we really were able to really kind of have three people fall into roles that were natural for them. We've actually since then added one beautiful thing we have is we have a great person who actually is like the connector, like all about networking, et cetera. And this person's been great for our firm and getting us boosted for new relationships, potentially how we even met you, because they were
Got it.
responsible for some of the Instagram work. And then one of the things we're doing right now is we have partnered with three organizations. One, a school that actually has a technical program designed with videography. So we're going to use some co-op students.
Cool.
Two, we actually have an organization that's a nonprofit that actually has an apprenticeship program for future videographers. So we're working with individuals there. And then the third piece of it is we have what we just call straight up entrepreneurs, people who are like, I got a camera, looking for some work, man. You got something for me. And we've been able to put people to work in different aspects. And it's worked phenomenal because indirectly, we're validating our mission, showcasing the real you, giving people the opportunity to shine. Flipping that, we've been able to work with our clients and really meeting their needs. So good times. We launched formally in my head in January of 24. Around April, we put the pen to paper and said, let's go live with this thing. And kicked it off really kind of going, let's go. And there are
Yeah.
some things we didn't know, as you and I talked about, like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
how did this work? How does that work? But we learned, you start off buying some ridiculously expensive cameras and easels and all that stuff. And then they sit on a shelf for a little while until you get people to go pick me out. You can film me. And then I think
Yeah.
we've gotten to a place now where we have a pretty good track record of trying to just tell those stories, man. And we are actually doing a little bit of a re-rollout from our marketing standpoint, so people can start to see some of the stuff we've been able to shoot with my videography lead and my son, and then our operations team kind of like really organizing this stuff in a good way. So it's been fun, man. It's been really fun. And
That's great.
I see it as like, I don't want to call it a passion project, but it's one of those areas of when I coach, which I didn't share this, but I coach basketball and baseball for youth. I always want kids to win, man. And
Yeah.
that's one piece of our audience, but that's kind of like the big driver for me, man. Big driver.
That's amazing. And I think, yeah, just kind of the process of how you do it and how you've built it. It takes a while to kind of get what you want. I think even like with this, like God, like I think of what it was and like and what it's kind of turned into. And like, yeah, sometimes you just don't know until you start like getting going in a little bit to see like what you need, what you have, what you don't have, what you wish you had. Like,
Yep.
you start figuring that all out. Now walk me through the process a little bit. Let's
Yeah.
pretend I am a person. I
Yeah.
am a candidate. You're recording me. What's the steps as far as like, okay, we're gonna start really looking into this person. Is there like a certain direction you guys go as far as asking questions?
Yep.
Would you just kind of feel out conversation? Like, how walk us through that a little bit. I'm
Yeah,
interested.
yeah, awesome. So as a general norm, there's kind of two ways of working. So let me, if you don't mind, I'll give you. I don't want to be a shameless pitch, but we have kind of three products, three
Yeah,
things.
you do like businesses. I know you do like
Yeah,
business parties and stuff. Like you do all
yeah, yeah,
sorts
yeah.
of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have like three products. So we have what we call the Life Canvas, and the Life Canvas. Think of that full transparency like a paid product. I'm a student, I'm an athlete, I'm a professional, I'm a business. We have them. They call the showcasing package, showcasing the real you as an individual, showcasing your real athlete, showcasing the real team, showcasing the real event. We kind of structure our packages that way. By the way, when we say showcasing the real event, we're not we're wedding photographers. We
Yeah.
would tell the story of that particular event. So,
Yep.
for instance, think of the idea that Beyond is doing its team development day. All 70 of your staff are going to get together, and you want to capture the experience of that day. Not, I need you to come in and record us, but more of like, tell the story. Here's why we did it, what we did, what the
Right.
goal is, what's
Right.
the outcome. We can bring that to life, but we more hone in on the live canvas, generally at the individual level. But that's a tell the story of the person. We also have something that we call Canvas conversations, similar to this discussion right now. We actually like to engage people who might be, a rock star in their field. So real estate agents, like I said, teachers, athletes, etc. But the Canvas conversation is let's hop on for 30, 45 minutes and talk about your program, your work, the industry or sector you're in, and push them on like real issues and stuff. I'll sidebar and say, because secretly I want a TV show. That's the secret goal. And by the way, that's kind of the element of Life Canvas to start. I was looking for that place to be able to interview and connect and tell the stories of people. The last product we have, and it really is not a product, but we go to games and things like that. We have some like sports tournaments, et cetera, and we have what's called a Canvas campaign. What if we told you there was a question we could ask, and today's question, and we go around the audience and we film ourselves asking people there, how would you respond to this? And that's pulled into a real campaign where you get a chance to just see what people said about the question of the day. So
Yeah.
those are the three things that are there. The second and third, the Canvas conversation and the Canvas campaign tend to be more of like we pick a person, the person picks us, we work. The campaign, we go to an event, etc. To your question though about our process, when you're looking at a live canvas, the idea is we're going to introduce and we're going to connect with Anthony. We're going to start with a consultation. Hey, so why'd you reach out to us? Or in some cases, why did we reach out to you? What is it about your story we'd like to tell? So there is a consultation to learn more, get an idea of this person's story, making sure that like what are the ons, what are the offs, are there anything to avoid, etc. We then go back and we storyboard based on what we heard. How can we capture this person's story and lay it out in a way that we can start to finish really encompass what they want? Somebody might want you to see their athletic ability, even though we're talking about beyond the athlete in some aspect. Somebody might want to prioritize that. Somebody else may be looking for you to show the opposite of that. So we storyboard in a way that we map it out. That person then gets the consultation date set. We come in, we shoot. That could be in their house, at a third party site, at multiple sites, at whatever it is. And then after that filming day, which imagine it could be anywhere from like an hour and a half to 7 hours, depending on what we're filming. We then go to the tank, get that edited, and get the video back to them, and really we come back with the finished product. You know what I mean? Whether that be the 2 to 3 minute quick clip, because we know coaches are not going to watch a 7 minute video on a kid. It's not happening. And even
Yeah.
with the 2 or 3 minute, they're going to be fast forwarding to what they want to see. On the opposite side of it's a company based approach where they're like, "Ooh, we want to tell the story to the staff that couldn't be here." Or maybe I have an event and I want sponsors next year to look at this event. We got to showcase enough stuff, then we do it in that way. So consultation, storyboarding, shoot it, edit it, deliver it is kind of what we actually operate with.
That's great. That's great. Now, the what put me on to you guys was the first kind of video that I saw of you guys was a young kid, a quarterback, I think, at Framingham, and that
Yeah,
was kind of
yeah.
that's what came across my page. And what's so funny is small world is I work at a school in Medford, and the PE teacher over at the middle school side used to be was a former head football coach before the current football coach was there at Framingham. So I
Nice.
had just said to him, I was like, "You ever hear of this kid?" He's like, "Oh yeah, he was a freshman when I was head coach there and blah blah." And then he talked about how great the guy who took over, how nice he was. And then I'm like, "Is this guy?" And he was like, "Yeah, it is. Oh my God!" So it was like kind of like a small world, but
Yeah,
that
man.
put me on to you. So like just from our perspective and our audience, like a lot of young athletes. I mean, talk about something like a young athlete, like what are some of the things you guys did or got to do that was just like really different and cool?
Yeah, I'll tell you, the young man you mentioned, Mateus Silva, I just give a plug to him. Phenomenal kid, phenomenal kid. I actually have the irony that of coming full circle. My daughter, my 11-year-old daughter, played tackle football 2 years ago, and she played with his younger brother.
Oh wow.
Beast of an athlete. Hey, fast forward, class of 2031, beast of an athlete. This kid's going to be good. But he's got these two brothers who are like rock stars also, right? They're
Yeah,
just
yeah,
good.
yeah.
But this kid, shows up. We get him with footage of throwing the ball around, etc. But he's a kid that's also super spiritual. And he starts talking about his relationship with Creator. And he has this moment on the field in a game on Thanksgiving. It was just really cool to see. And this is just a great kid, man. But what I thought was awesome was, seeing a young person, just sharing some insights and thoughts was powerful. I got to meet his coach, who
Right.
actually you could just tell was emotional about how good this kid is. We also, fast forwarding from him, we filmed lacrosse players, professional boxers, etc. Well, we've gotten a chance to get in the ring with some people, film some people, and see some stuff. I actually had the chance. One of the first people that we had a chance to film last summer was an influencer on Instagram, a woman by the name of Ashley Mosher, and Ashley goes by Coash. She's got this amazing following of people who have just had traumatic experiences in their lives, and we were the angle that we had was just trying to understand, like, why did you start this thing? And her premise is we need to be able to come together to help each other navigate stuff. So my son and I go to this house for 3 hours in like 100-degree day. It's hot, man. But they embraced us. We're sitting on the couch in their house. It's emotional. There's things that we're sharing. I walk out with the youngest daughter who makes honey. She sends me out with just some jars of honey. I mean, just cool stuff, man. We've actually been with a real estate agent who invited our team in to do some work for a holiday appreciation party that she had. And you got, for those that celebrate, you got a Santa in the corner, the dog, cookies, pies, or whatever it is, and you're just really feeling like you're immersed with somebody who's like, I love what I do. I love my clients. I want to show my clients something, and LifeCanvas is right there, like in the mix, being able to shoot that too.
Wow.
So it runs the gamut, man. But I highlight that the cool part is, and I'll bluntly say this, we're so divisive and I'll say divided in the current climate world we live in. Man,
Yeah.
it's nice to tell some good news. It's
Right.
nice that people do this and realize we have so much more in common. And what if we leverage that and showcase and model for our young people that that's kind of what it is, right? Because when
Right.
you're in the trenches in whatever sport it is, that but I know Beyond highlights that mostly, and Mateus in the scenario we saw him with, and his coaches even referenced, it was like the kids remember that, hey man, we got the first down. We won the Thanksgiving Day game.
Yeah.
Those are those moments you can't take away. And I feel like sometimes we get into like the, well, I don't want to know you because because even in the rivalry games on Thanksgiving Day that generally happen, I don't want to know you, man. You're from the other town. But you know
Yeah.
what? I can dap up my brother who played a tough game on the other side. We play a clean game. Y'all kick
Right.
our butts, man, is what it is. Hopefully, I'm saying
Yeah.
the opposite. We kick your butt. But that's
Right. Right.
so
And
it just
that's
makes
what's
it run.
great. And what I love is like the positivity aspect of it. Like you mentioned, like it you click on anything on social media or go on the internet, it's negative, negative. Someone has an opinion, someone thinks this, someone thinks that, someone lied about this. Like it's constantly, and that's like a big part of our page is that we've like always kind of stayed out of certain things and stayed in
Mhm.
our lane because we know what we are and people don't need to know my opinions about things and people don't need to hear the negative things or bad things that happen. Very rarely do you turn on the news and hear a positive story till it's the last like maybe 5 minutes of the news if you've hung on
Exactly.
that long to like
Exactly.
watch it, right?
Yep,
So
yep. And
um
unfortunately, the cycle is that it's on at 9, it's on at 10, it's on at 11, and it just keeps playing. So I don't mean to
yeah.
cut you off. Keep going.
No, you're right. And it's like, why do I even want to watch this? Like it's everything's depressing and makes
Yep,
the world
yep.
look terrible.
Yeah, brother.
Um, so that's kind of like the other aspect of your page that I pulled in so much is the positivity in the idea that like, yeah, there's a story behind everything. Are you involved in any like the video? I mean, no, obviously I know your son is and stuff. Do you get your hands on the camera at all? Do you get behind that at all? Do you just stay in your lane type thing? Because it's funny. I have a guy I do this with it with Beyond, and I've just come to be like, yeah, I trust you. Like when he edits the big videos, I don't even. I'm just like, yeah, dude, like we're on the same page, and whatever you
So,
think, I'm
so,
in.
so, so the funny part is, I'm very blessed, man, and very fortunate to be in a scenario. My son said, "Dad, we need boom, 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 boom," and I was able to say, "Here's Amex, go get it." You know what I mean? And then I go like, "Whoa, how much was that?" You don't realize how much stuff costs. Concurrently, I had the experience in January. My baby boy is 14. He's a freshman basketball player. He played varsity for a few games this year, so he
Wow.
played great on the JV team. Got a chance to move up. He's a kid that's notoriously checked into a varsity game and score it within the first like 20 seconds of being in the game. You know what I mean? But I filmed that, and
Yeah.
I got obliterated on. Man, your video sucks. You don't know what you're doing. Meanwhile, my wife, Anthony, my wife shows me up, man. What I didn't know is she too was creating a video, but she did what my son and the other videographers do. She added in all the pre-clips and all the other things and his highlights. So she's got this video of music and everything else. Man, I got a video. There's a big column in the way, so I'm like over the side trying to lean. And I didn't think anything of it. This was my moment with my son, and I posted it. And I mean,
Yeah.
I got 60 comments. Man, your video sucks. Congratulations to your kid, but Kenya, you need to get a new job. So
Nice.
long-winded to say, nah, man, you don't want the camera. But I'll tell you this: one of the things that we've been super privileged to have through our partnerships with some of our peers, and then some of the partners, like I mentioned, the three avenues we go. We have folks who know the software, they know the cameras. They also are good at getting the people set up for success. My job very often, if I'm going to be on site, is to get the person comfortable. What you've done for me in this conversation, and it's a special art, man, is getting the person you're interviewing or talking to comfortable to just let it rip and go.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
special gift. I feel like I do facilitation in my gig outside of LifeCanvas, and what I try to do is get people warmed up. I've had the young kid who's like, "Yeah, man, I'm not comfortable with this. I don't want all the attention," and they wind up doing something that's amazing. I mean, like I told you, I've had the family on the couch, and we're talking about like real heavy stuff. And, I start off by saying, I just want to know more. We're showcasing the real you. We're doing this. And just to get a family that's just had some tough stuff just talking, it's powerful. So I don't need to be the one hitting record. I got a good team for that, but I do like the idea of being involved with the conversations piece. And then, like I said, if I look at my partners, again, I tell you, one takes the camera or leads the team that takes the camera. The other goes, I don't need either of those. I'll just make sure that invoices are paid, the bills are paid that we have, and that people get all the right information, contracts, calendars, and all that stuff together. The beauty for me is I got two partners that are great, and it makes
Yeah.
my life easier. And then we have team members, from Venezuela to Massachusetts to Connecticut, who just support us just in the sense of from editing, social media, and things like that. So, yeah, man, I know I'm long-winded, but I'll tell you, yeah, you don't
No,
want
I
me.
mean, I'm listening. I'm just
You don't want me to
enthralled
test
by
my camera.
you. You're easy to talk to, one, because you can talk, but two, like, yeah, I find people so fascinating that had their hands in a lot of different things and involved in a lot of different things and so successful at it. So when I listen to what you did before that, what you're like, I want to do this and this is how we're gonna do, and I work with these people, and I got my son involved, and and how you pitch it. I mean, God, you are gifted. I have to say that to you. You really are. I mean that.
Hey man, I
Um,
appreciate it. I appreciate it. And I think sometimes it's really tough to be in those scenarios. Like, who do you give that credit to? And I definitely thank my family, my mother, who is like a core source of my life growing up, uncles and other folks that have been figures in my life in different ways. But I think the drive is I had a parent that was just like my single parent, my mother, and I say ecosystem of family that was responsible for raising me. But I think that the drive was something that we just always had, man. And my mom was that young mother, went into the military, was like, let's travel the world, let's go do. We were always going, and you're always aspiring. Excellence is the standard. And so, like in a household like mine, I can tell you, I got four kids who, if you ask them, if dad walks in the room, what is he going to say? I've tried to actually peel back on this a little bit, but there's a place, there's a time, there's a something needs to be put away. And so I used to be that that nagging Nicky, the dad's always nitpicking about this, nitpicking about
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you need to do this. And they're like, they're like, all right, dude, really? Can you just say hi first? And that's what my wife would say. Can you say hi to us first? I'm like, put that away. But I just think that, by the way, my mother's military. So, like, everything needs to have that. And I think, kind of operating that way, that's also helped me though, because it sets me up to say, I know that I need to compartmentalize, but I can keep things organized to keep the drive there. Because if you don't have that, man, and you got a hands on a lot of stuff, you'll quickly fall apart. And I would
yeah.
add that that was why one of my partners, one of the first calls was to somebody who helps me keep things organized, and they've been phenomenal as somebody to help us keep stuff going and moving and just moving in the right direction. So we're all excited about what the rest of 2025 will bring for us.
So that's great. And I was going to ask you, so the rest of 2025, we're, just about in March, so a couple months into 2025. What's a goal? What's a realistic goal, or maybe a reach for you guys that you hope by the end of 2025 this happens or whatever?
Yeah, so you ask it in that way, and it hits me, and I'm like, boom, what's the goal? What we've done is we've set some specific. I mean, I wouldn't go into this specifically, but we set some goals around like revenue numbers and things like that.
Yeah.
Number of live canvases, number of these or those we want to sell, and that's the
Right.
sell side of it. Truth be told, I didn't hop into this for the money.
Yeah.
And in height, if you ask me honestly, and this might sound
Yeah.
a little crazy, so if anybody's listening, I still will bill you if you want one. But I just want to highlight that I contemplated, man, what if we should have started a nonprofit and actually written grants to be able to go on the road show and just do these for people? Or help you get the grant. You got your 22 football players or 30. We want to do these for all of them and just kind of have it be that however you use it, you go and you do it. It's like in my practice every day. We run a consulting firm. We have a lot of intellectual property. We've developed a lot of stuff. I'm the guy that regularly would say, "We're done. If you know the wonderful world of PowerPoint or Keynote, here the slides. Take them, use them however you want."
Right.
Some people go, "Oh, what are you doing? That's your IP." I'm thinking, if I'm talking about bias or teams or whatever it is, and somebody can grab this nugget, use it, and be better, why would
Right.
I worry about how much I'm getting paid for that? I think we
God, I
all,
hear that and I just think,
you know,
man, that's
you know what I mean?
amazing.
It's like we all win. So
Right.
flip it. I'm going to pay the price somewhere. I win when you use this and you're better and you treat the next person better, as opposed to, man, I got an invoice, but y'all were all jerks, but I got paid. No, that's
Yeah.
not how I was raised. And so I flip it and I say, for us, I think it's awareness being high. I would love to see us have some traction where LifeCanvas, somebody go, oh, I know those people. And by the way, I had a little bit of traction to that. I was at a game for my son recently, and I walked in. The kid goes, "That's the guy from that video." I was like, "Yes, man!" I had that moment, and that's not my thing. I'm a dinosaur, man. I just celebrated my 50th on Sunday, and I call myself that and saying like, I don't know the socials and social media and all that stuff like that. But it was just like, hey, man, that was kind of cool, to have it be that somebody realized that we filmed that video and kids are watching it. And then my son came home after one of his games and says, this player on my team wants one. That's what I want. I want it to be that kids recognize us, they know what it is. And I also want it to be that they can understand that, oh, they're telling good stories about people. Because, like we know, if we let them all day long, they will
Right.
follow memes of things that they probably shouldn't be looking at for our younger
Yeah.
ones, or things that will actually fire up the divisive nature of who's got what. And there's a side to everything. And I read something recently. I just have to say this, Anthony. It was the idea that we are more ideologically aligned than we realize it. We tend to be more emotionally polarized. And the general premise of that comment is that I don't even know why I'm mad sometimes. I,
Right.
I just don't like Red Sox fans. We both beat the Blue Jays, the Rays, and the Orioles. I just don't like your side, so we're just going to be mad with each other. But you know what? We
Right.
had a commonality that we both did good this year. Now that's a joke, and we can't root for each other's teams. That's the rivalry. But
Right.
just take that for a grain of salt that it is. No one really wants to think about it in those terms. But really, hey man, we're all better off. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, and that's nice to hear because yeah, sometimes what we do here for people in the extra, I mean, God, I think about one of our first coverages and we covered Somerville boys basketball. It was one of our first paying gigs. And we showed up there and we noticed this kid like warming up that was like had no shoes on and like kind of limping around, but he was just like big kid, strong kid. And so we finally asked him, like, what's going on? Like, why aren't you out there practicing, or whatever? He's just like, my shoes, like I have my shoes are too small and like I can get new ones like next Friday when I get my paycheck. And he's like, but I have like my toenail ripped up or whatever. So like I walk over to the guy that I'm doing with, I'm like, we have to go get this kid's shoes. Like he can't wait till next Friday to like use his heart. So we went out and went to Nike and in Assembly Row and we bought him like a really nice pair of shoes for basketball. And we gave him to him the next day at his practice. And to us, like that cost us a lot of money, like that we just like lost. But like to me, it wasn't about that. It's like about doing the right thing. It's like this is why I started this podcast. I'm an educator. Like when you see someone cold, you give them a jacket. When you see somebody sad, you ask them what's going on. You see that
Yeah,
somebody needs something and you have the ability to make that a possibility for them. Like yeah,
good.
maybe that's just like human nature and some people, maybe not in others. But I hear you say that all, and I'm just like, God, that's exactly like what we are and what we do. And, the same thing, like we make money off of the things that we do, but some things I look at as just like yeah, this is bigger than that. Like
$100%, man.
this is a good thing to just go cover because it's the right thing for people to see, like what's happening.
100%. And I would hope that listeners would understand you didn't just tell that story to be like, oh, I'm a savior. Look what I
Right,
did. But
right.
I would hope that people would hear and follow beyond even more, realizing that you would do the right thing in that scenario. And you said something that I oftentimes will say when I coach CEOs, um, the ROI far supersedes the expense of what you paid at Assembly Row.
Right.
I mean, you bought some DJ Khaled for $1,500 sneakers. That's a different conversation.
Yeah,
But my
yeah,
point is
yeah.
like, but you know your ROI, that young person going, man, and the flip side of that is I would imagine that player will have an experience at the next level, wherever they may be, et cetera. And they're going to remember that someday somebody did something. So when they do something small or big for somebody else, there's your ROI growing as well. And I think that's
Yeah,
beautiful. So this says a lot about you because, hey, man, so many people will say, I'm just here to film, man. Or maybe
right.
not even pay attention. Not even pay attention to like, there's obviously something going on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The only one up you could have done is that there was a store right next door, right? Let's go get it now.
Yeah.
But y'all did something that I just think that that's the beauty of seeing a need and recognizing it. And I think I heard you say loud and clear without saying these words. And we weren't the savior going, hey man, make sure you pay me back when you make it big. It's like we
Right.
did the right thing. We did the
Right.
right thing. And that young person's going to really appreciate that. I'm sure is appreciating it and will continue to appreciate it. So kudos to you all, man. I
Yeah.
love it, brother. I love it. And we need more of that. We need more of that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I really do. Um, and what I love kind of about you guys too is I went through your website and so on and so forth, and I want to talk about the quote that I mentioned at the top here because
Yeah.
it did stand out to me. And again, for those that might have forgot, we marry the power of cinematography, videography, and photography with social media to create visual stories.
Hmm.
Who came up with that? Who gets the credit for that? Who gets the
Yeah.
credit for that?
So here's the thing that I say, and I don't want to get either of my partners mad. My son, um, is this kid that so I'm in Framingham, right? So we live in the Boston area. You know, Boston, we got
Mhm.
the academic mecca. What school you want to go to? There's
Right,
18 what music, sports, dance, but you got it all. I
right.
got my MIT, I got my Harvard. Be careful, BU, BC. I can keep going.
Yeah,
He's a kid that would probably tell you, not an academic. Don't need that. Never stepped on a campus in that aspect. Didn't want to do that. Said to us, he didn't want to waste our money. Yeah, do I wish he would go back? Do some? Yes, but I own that. But one of the things I'll tell you this kid has is, man, just some creative juices. You say to him, name something. He's got to be creative in the language and the way he does it, et cetera. But he really did some thinking. Like on our website, we have the mountains and things like that. He was like, like I think about LifeCanvas and I think about like the peaks and the valleys of life. Wouldn't mountains be a great one? So you think like look at the summit and just how people are striving to get to the summit, right? We want to get them to the top. But sometimes you got to have these dips in ways that's where we came up with like even the visual of that and even and the camera that we have on the at the top of the logo. It's the camera that the shutter button you would push or whatever it's called, shutter the button. But we kind of remember mimicking or mirroring the mountains with that. When we started playing around with the quotes, we had what we call a playbook process. We lead it in our other business. It's like these 6 questions that businesses answer, and the notion is you need to know at all times why do you exist, how do you behave? What are those values that you stand for? What do you actually do? What are the strategic anchors that are going to help LifeCanvas be successful? And what that basically is all about is we were talking about beyond, and I said you're going to interview blah 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 blah. You and your partners would be like, no, we're not, because that goes against what we feel. Well, you would have some elements of like the guardrails of what we do, or better yet, hey, here's a great person we can interview. You're like, yeah, but that doesn't really fit the world of sports or the world that we focus on with our podcast. So you can interview everybody, but you wouldn't for that. So those are the guardrails. And then the other 2 things are like, what's most important right now? We call that the rallying cry. And so we need to tell people what we do. We need to do our marketing, et cetera. And lastly is who's got to do what to make those things happen. Those 6 questions really kind of drove a little bit of this. And so when we talked about it, Caleb, my son, I've named him here. He actually is the cinematographer. He's the person that was like, "Ooh, we can do the cinematography because he wants to be a movie maker,
Yeah.
like movies." Add videography and photography, these other 2 pieces that you might have a little bit more in smaller segments, and really kind of bring them together. And we're like, so we can marry these 3 things because they are 3 distinct things, at least as I learned from him, they are. Because I tell you, I'm not the guy behind the camera.
Right,
And
right,
then we
right.
really kind of use it to kind of move it forward to say, I could just do a video. That's the world we live in. People watch, they film, they record all the time. But what purpose? I would argue, with no disrespect to social media creators, a lot of stuff I look at, I'm going like, but why'd I win? Why'd I watch that? Ha 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 ha! I laugh for a second, but why'd I watch that? And you see people who just do this all day long. Where's your day gone? I
Right.
scrolled. To do what? Nothing. I just scroll. I'd rather be in a place where I'm learning something, I'm grabbing something. So that's where we were like, well, let's kind of make sure that we can do something productive. And if you're going to watch a story, the way we roll those out traditionally are nuggets and then the final story. The nuggets are really kind of mapped to be something you can grab from this story that you can use. And so that idea of marrying him, we were all together, but I would say that it was born off of the idea that he had with the mountains. And for me, it was a proud dad moment. Concurrently, I do want to respect my other partner and say that they were very instrumental also in making sure that we put it to words. This person is an English major, actually. So let's wordsmith this thing and get it right. But again, that's where I'm truly blessed to have partners who can play both sides, a creative, a little bit more tactical. And my job is to make it sound good and make sure we have that verbal aspect to it too. So that's kind of where it came from, being honest with you.
That's great. I mean, I loved it. It was something that popped out to me when kind of looking through your stuff, and I just wanted to ask you. I mentioned at the top, like I said, and yeah, it was great. Um, the question I'll ask you, and I always ask coaches and athletes this type of question, so I was thinking about how to phrase it with you. Um, what's your advice? Like I said, I spoke to a classes at Endicott last Friday, and
Mhm.
they asked me what my biggest piece of advice was, and one of my biggest pieces was bet on yourself. If you
Ooh,
know who you are and you know how hard you're willing to work and you know that you're going to put the work in, then bet on yourself because you know what you're going to do. And so many people sometimes are afraid to make that jump or afraid to make that leap into doing something outside of their comfort zone or something that's different because they don't know what it's going to bring. For you, you seem pretty fearless and you knew who you were as a person. And it makes me think that you just know to bet on yourself and the success that you've had in your life. And now you're taking on something completely different
yeah.
and you're doing it in a way that's like methodical and doing it the right way. Like you didn't just hit the fast forward button and try to pop everything out. You've grown in different ways, like you said, in trial and error and figuring things out. What's your advice to people out there that are afraid to make that jump a little bit or are afraid to bet on themselves, to do a different venture, to take a different journey, or to do something different that you would say to them to say, hey, you can do this. This is why you can do this.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, you're gonna go deep, brother.
Because I when I'm hearing you talk, right, and
Yeah.
it is deep, you are right. Like I'm fascinated because I hear the things that you're saying, and these are things that I really believe. So like when you're talking and you're preaching about just how treating somebody nice or somebody recognizing you or someone seeing that you did something positive in a video and walks into a place and recognizes you, that's like that's huge. Few people
Yeah.
have recognized me, and it means a lot to me. So when you said that, it resonated. But you're a hard worker. You're a grinder. This isn't easy. What you're doing is not
Yeah.
easy. What you're
Yeah.
building is not easy. So what's your advice to those people, man?
Yeah.
Because I think that what you're doing is great, and you are quickly gonna move up. Like I see it.
Yeah.
You.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate it, and I'm going to
Yeah.
remember those words. So let me give you a few. I'm going to give you a few things, and what I'll do is this: I'll try to keep it simple, and not be preachy. But I'll throw out the first one. The first one that comes to mind is the idea. I don't be cheesy as heck. I'm going to borrow the tagline from our firm, KJR Consulting.
Okay.
In 2012, really 2010 or so, I hired a consultant to do a rebrand for us, and our tagline became "Get enthused, make it happen."
I like that. Make it
My
happen.
title in my firm is Chief Enthusiasm Officer. And the idea is not to be cheesy. Ooh, I'm going to tell you about some enthusiasm, but it's, hey, man, get fired up about the thing that matters and then go do it. And now I know that didn't answer the question because your point is, well, wow, I'm sure I'm scared to do it, Kenny. Well, how? If you can get excited about it, and I'll add, if you can get other people excited about it, what's the thing that you can do that you're excited about that you can get other people excited about? If you can find some of those things, first off, you're in the right path. Oh, I'm going to do this thing and nobody's excited about it. Well, I got bad news. You might be spinning your wheel for a while. Hey,
Right.
I can get a lot of people excited about something, but I'm not enthused about it. Well, that also is burnout, also, because you're like, oh man, let me go do this thing I hate doing because everybody else is happy. Think about it. I don't want to cross a boundary with people, belief systems, etc. But it sounds like Hollywood might be full of those people. Folks who I made it, and then I realized the game was a lot more than I thought the game was, and it comes with a lot of things I don't know. And we have people who are like, if I had all this money, here's what I do. We really don't know because we don't
Right.
have all that money.
Right.
But get enthused, make it happen. I'm enthused about it. I'm going to go do it, and I feel like those two things are tied together. If you're enthused, you can get other people excited about it, and you can be excited as you do it. You're winning. One. The second thing I would say, and I heard this, there's a guy named Scott Galloway, my coach, phenomenal guy I work with. His name is Rob McGowan out of Los Angeles. He's awesome, been a great life change for me. He's got this 1% rule. Kenya, we want to be 1% better. If we can be 1% better, what do we do? My life, my relationships with my family, et cetera. This guy's been great for me. But one of the things he actually shared with me in this clip of this guy named Scott Galloway was talking about this idea of people making the mistake when they're trying to make a leap of passion projects without having any income. Or, we tell people, just follow your dreams, you'll be good. Follow your dreams, you'll be good. Well, someone would go, maybe that's not so true. So the non-traditional advice is be careful in just following your dreams. Make sure there's a concrete plan for how you want to execute those. And so Scott was saying that you want to be able to pay your bills. Because here's the reality check. Oh man, go be whatever you want to be. Yeah, but in the pursuit of that, you could cause more harm in your life if you don't have something concrete. So
Correct.
the argument from my entrepreneurs, I'd say for somebody that's your passion area, let your current job be your first client for your project. And what I mean by that is until you don't need that money anymore, stay there. Keep building the other thing you're building, and then actually you're ready to move on. And I don't mean stay in a job where you're miserable and don't ever put any energy into like trusting yourself to step out. What I mean is don't just jump and then tomorrow you're like, oh my goodness, I don't have a house, I don't have food, I don't have a car. Now I have nothing. And now you're stuck where you're spiraling backwards. Now you're going back to that employer saying, can I come back? Because you fail. But it's because we just jumped in with no plan. So I don't think you need a strat plan and a business plan all the time to launch an idea, but you at least want to make sure you got an income because we always say you can be the starving artist, but that's a
Yeah.
temporary thing. And at a certain point, people who actually don't have the drive, they'll go, well, it didn't work out, well, and so now you feel like you failed, but no, you didn't. You just didn't have a plan or you jumped too soon. So
Right.
get enthused, make it happen. Find a thing that you're excited about, that you can get other people excited about, and make sure both of those things are aligned. And then the second part of that would be if you're going to jump in, be careful of just passion. I would go passion married with something I know I can feed myself with, just so I'm there. And I heard it said, as I worded it, maybe consider thinking of, as an entrepreneur, thinking of the current job if you have one as your first client. And I'm jumping the second that I no longer need that job. So that means you're generating some revenue or you have something coming that you feel like you're ready to go because so many people just jump. And the last thing I will say, and I heard this from someone also, and I'm always good about like if somebody's quoted it, try to give credit. So these aren't my words, but it's the idea of a lot of people are jealous of the things you have, but not of the path that it took you to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So don't forget the grind that it takes. And as you're aspiring to be, you do get gain. Remember that it takes work to get there. Because if we go, I saw this person in the Lambo or in the whatever it is, and I'm going to go do the same. Well, when you realize that they're releasing it, it wasn't theirs. Or when you realize that, oh, that's not going to make you happy either because you just want a Bugatti at that point. By the way, I'm talking cars I don't own. But so you're always looking for the next big possession. Well, guess
Yeah.
what, dude? We ask the folks in LA with the fires what possessions can do for you. Like that, they can be gone. That's not
Right.
where the grind is. So I just say, like, realize there's a grind. And when you have that grind in there, the possession being gone, you just reset. Hopefully, you had insurance. You go, I'm good, man. But somebody who does, if you just pile it up in possessions, well, at a certain point, you start going like, "Oh shoot, my possession's gone. What else do I have?" You feel almost shallow or empty because it was about accumulation of stuff. That ain't what it's about, man. So
No,
get enthused, make it happen. Passion with a plan, and then just respect the game, man. Respect the fact that in getting there, it takes some work.
it
This Beyond
does.
podcast started somewhere. You work your buns off to get it where it is. Like just it didn't just happen like that.
Yeah.
Respect that.
And that's it. I think I've learned that more than anything doing this podcast is respecting other people's processes and respecting other people's passions. And when I see things on social media now, I look at it so differently. I didn't have social media until I started this. So when I started a social media account for Beyond, that was like my first social media account ever. Like I needed help signing up for it. Like, how do you do this? Like what? What's this? How do you post this? Like all those questions,
So
right? Like
I'm coming to you for advice because I'm still there.
yeah, like now I give myself like probably like a B minus. I think I'm a B minus worthy, like low 80s, mid 80s, somewhere around there. But the idea of the grind behind it is like, man, you never know because like you go on social media, you see pictures or you see little videos and you see the smiles and you see the happiness and you see the successes, but there's not videos, and that's what you guys like somewhat are and do, and I that's what I love about it is like you don't see the grind process behind it. You don't see what this person has on their plate on a daily basis. You don't see what this person does for their second or third job. Like I mean, throughout the year work 4 jobs, like not all consecutively, but when school ends, I run my summer camp. I have this going around. I work the fields behind where I teach like for extra money on the weekends because it's easy. So it's one of those things that I think you don't know people's stories until you really start going through it yourself and seeing how hard something is to build and so on. So yeah, great advice, great advice. Where can people find you? Can we tell our audience here where can we find you?
Yeah, yeah. So we're at thereallifecanvas.com. Obviously, that's the website. You can also find us at LifeCanvas on Instagram. We actually have a YouTube channel that's also LifeCanvas as well. And that's the real REEL Life Canvas as you look us up. Unless you want to go look at Life Canvas, which is a little bit of a different different business structure altogether. But we are actually on obviously our website, Instagram. We have a YouTube channel that's really awesome where we put our Canvas conversations, and specifically in that dynamic, you can see some of those longer discussions similar to this that we've had with some really cool people as well. And we actually, maybe we can send you the link tree that folks can take a look at also, which will take you
Yeah.
to all of those links as well. We can get you that to put in maybe the notes from this or whatever it is. So,
I might
and
have that in the email. I might have that in the email I could
yeah,
post.
and even still, I'm the guy going like, "Ooh, I gotta look and see what they told me to say." It's just so interesting that I just come from a different world of like as a matter of fact, I was in Jacksonville, Florida last week, and I was the guy like, "Oh, this is old school here, man. You might even have one of these. This is my business card holder. Hey, let me tell you where you can find me." And people were like,
Yeah.
"What, dude?
What's
Nobody uses
that?
cards." But see, man, I will go all in. I got the nicest business cards, man, the stock and
Yeah.
everything else. Oh, they're raised text, and it's like I start looking at the box and go, man, I've had this box for a while because nobody wants them, man. So I'm like, I'll give you 2 cards, and people are like, yeah, I'm good, dude. Just tell me where I find you. But
Yeah,
that's
now it's like they got these apps. You just like walk over to somebody's phone and like tap it, and you get
it's
all
that,
their
it's
information. I'm
that
like,
where you're
what?
like,
Like what?
scan the QR code is the big one.
Yeah.
So, but again, like I said, we are the REEL Live Canvas, and you can check us out on the web, Instagram, all the same, and then we played around with X and a few other platforms, that you can find us on all of those. So pretty good stuff, man. Awesome.
I mean this, Kenya. You are such an interesting guy. I think that you to say that you're entitled and enthusiast, God, like you want to get work like that. That if that doesn't describe a person perfectly, I don't know what does. I mean, I'm very fascinated. I got to talk to you a little bit the other day on a Zoom last week, and I said to myself when I signed off, and the guy that I do this with, I go, I have a really interesting person I'm going to talk to, and I just feel like I'm gonna learn a lot talking to him on the podcast, and I'm excited. And I really did just listening to you, like I was enthralled hearing you. And I can only imagine the people that work with you and the customers that you guys have and throughout life that people come across you and they enjoy you, man. I could see that. I enjoy you. I hope this isn't the last conversation we have. I hope we our paths cross throughout. And yeah, I appreciate you coming on here. I think what you guys do is legitimate. And I mean it to our audience. Like I DM these guys, and then within like 10 minutes,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
might even shorter, I might be too long. They
The head of the
wrote me
beast, man.
back
Super
and were
beast.
just like, this is so interesting. Like we were actually going to reach out to you. And
Yep.
so I believe in that stuff. Like we
Yeah,
were
man.
meant to connect in some way. And this is hopefully just a beginning of that. But
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Well, hey man, I will say as a closing for my own accord, first off, thank you so much. We're new for folks that are like really kind of thinking about testing something like this out. Reach out to us. We certainly we've kind of put ourselves out there to say that if we have somebody make an inquiry, we're going to tell you what it costs, what it's valued at, et cetera. But we try to work with people. And I said what I said earlier about the meaning. We run a business, so we can't do everything for everyone. But
Right.
I do think if we can viably do something, we're going to do it. I think the other big piece for you, I would say, respectfully, is, we have these parallel tracks that are there. Please keep doing what you're doing because I think
Yeah.
it's awesome to be able to just hear, those different angles. As I got a chance to look at listen to a little bit of the podcast and hear some of the other athletes, my selfish piece was like, ooh, I'd love to do a live canvas on this person or whatever it is. But I think there could be some great opportunities, and maybe we can actually do a live canvas on you, my friend, and actually
Yeah.
bring it beyond podcast to something just as an opportunity to say thank you to you. But more importantly, to actually just think about the point you made. This isn't the last time we'll connect. But I say to those that are listening, thank you for taking a second. I'm thankful to Anthony for having me on, whether that be in our live canvas world or our other firm. We really do believe in trying to help people win. And we want to win ourselves. The reality check of that is if we showcase our real selves, that encourages people to do the same thing. And now we are marrying, like you said earlier, that cinematography, videography, and photography together to really, 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 really create those visual stories. And at the end of the day, it's really about marrying the power of those things to showcase the real you by using that power of the reels that we actually see out there as well. So I thank you so much for having me, brother. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
It was pleasure. Honestly, it was a pleasure. And like I said, anything you need us to post, you want us to post, you send us, it's done. So we
Those
appreciate
people.
that and we'll help you out for sure. But guys, I mean what I said. The energy I felt today was great. And again, if you have not checked these guys out, Life Canvas, get on Instagram. Like I said, I'll share their stuff. But exciting, exciting things that I can't wait to kind of keep seeing more of, truthfully. But thank you guys for listening today. We have a busy week. High school basketball playoffs are upon us. We're going to be at Shawsheen Tech this Friday night, opening round, number 4 seed rank in Division Three. So they're hosting a home game. They're excited. We covered these guys earlier. They are legit. So we're excited to see their playoff run in Malden Catholic, who we've been covering all year. Got number 1 overall seed in Division Two. Also launching off on Friday night. We're excited for the coverage we have ahead of them as well. So till next time, guys, I'm your host, Anthony Petralis.